can't think of a single franchise that's reinvented itself as successfully as this one. So 28 years later, the Bone Temple picks up right where 28 years later left off, so this review will contain some spoilers for that film. So in this movie, this kid Spike is getting initiated into this gang of evil Power Ranger type characters, all named Jimmy, while Dr. Kelson, played by Ralph Fiennes, is conducting some experiments to try to better understand the infected, how the virus operates, and maybe how to alleviate the effects of it. And right off the bat, it's been a while since I saw that first movie, 28 Days Later, but I don't remember it being this disturbing. I feel pretty confident this is the most vicious movie in the series to this point. Immediately, this film is just drenched in violence as Spike is working alongside this gang led by Jimmy Crystal, who is one of the most vile characters in recent memory. He leads this gang of followers who he refers to as fingers as they wander around the English countryside and commit egregious acts of violence against anyone they come across, all in service of appeasing the Dark Lord, who Jimmy claims to be in contact with. And this trilogy that we're now 2 entries deep into has been, to this point, very interested in exploring the environmental impacts of this world on the characters and the iconography that is enlisted by authoritative figures to control others. And in this film, the iconography of violence and evil is what Jimmy Crystal is using to control his followers. They have grown up in a dog-eat-dog world. They don't know anything else. They're completely inundated in bloodshed. They have no reservations about what they're doing to other people because it's all they know. And it's the only thing in their lives that's brought them into community with others. And those violent scenes really stack up early on and kind of risk overdoing it, but I think it's done in the service of showing you just how hopeless this world is. And those scenes are punctuated by moments with Dr. Kelson as he is running these experiments with the zombies and trying to bring some healing into the world. So that does provide a bit of balance, even though the stuff that Kelson is doing does often kind of pale in comparison to the violence that's being enacted by Jimmy and his gang. Some moments feel very life-affirming, but the scales are definitely tipped in the direction of evil for the majority of the runtime. And the spiritual symbolism that was very heavy in 28 years later is honestly turned up to 11 here. There is a blatantly religious feel to much of what happens in this film, and it's sometimes a bit on the nose and can feel like the metaphors are driving a bit too much, but I do think it's done in service of exploring the film's central themes. And both of these storylines that are going on consecutively rest squarely on the shoulders of Ralph Fiennes and Jack O'Connell, who are both great here. Jack O'Connell playing this disgusting devil-worshipping cult leader is unbearably menacing, and he just exudes evil. And that's not a word that I can use too much in this review. This character feels truly evil to his core. And yet, when he talks about his past and you learn a bit more about how he came to arrive at the conclusions that he holds, you understand a bit how his worldview was so unbelievably corrupted. The breakout happened, as we saw in the previous film, when he was a child, and he has kind of this arrested development where the religious iconography that he saw in his youth was associated with some extremely hideous acts of violence. And for a lot of the runtime, I was left questioning whether or not he actually believes what he's preaching to his followers, or whether he's just harnessing the power of fear to garner their obedience. But when you look at the tagline of this film, "Fear is the new faith," that confusion becomes really thematically relevant. Ralph Fiennes is somebody who consistently lends a level of credibility to whatever project he shows up to, and that's exactly what he does here. He throws himself at this role emotionally and physically in a way that kind of just has to be seen to be believed. As we saw in the previous film, there's a hint of performativeness in his character, and there's this scene where he's behaving very theatrically that is just a stunning achievement. This is definitely entering the canon of this guy's great performances. And I think Nia DaCosta did a really good job as the director here. The sound design is fantastic, very important, and oftentimes wince-inducing in certain scenes. The tension that's built around certain set pieces, in particular a barn sequence that I thought was just phenomenal. She knows what she's doing here. Also, the way she keeps up the energy and the uncomfortable proximity that's kind of a staple of this series, while at the same time making this wholeheartedly her own and not at all mimicking what Boyle does with these films, is very impressive. I think she knocked it out of the park behind the camera here. And I kind of have to compliment the way that she and her crew incorporated violence in this movie. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they executed it much more practically than usual, but it felt so visceral every time there were acts of violence on screen. I bought it, and it puts it in the frame a lot more than many films do, which is risky because it could appear false. But I thought that the more you saw, the more disturbing it got, honestly. Now, as usual, Alex Garland, who wrote this screenplay, is more interested in crafting characters who are representatives of certain belief systems and environmental backgrounds than he is in making characters who have specific personality traits, and that's definitely the case here. Alfie Williams is great in this role, as this is kind of continuing the coming-of-age story that was started in the previous film, but I still don't really feel like we know much about him, and that's the case with most of the characters here. This film feels extremely incidental, and it doesn't necessarily feel like the characters are driving the plot so much as kind of wandering through this world and things are happening that involve them. And towards the end, as some really big decisions are made by some characters, it didn't feel very climactic to me. It felt very circumstantial and a bit stagey in a way that I thought made the final moments of the film a bit weaker than the majority of the runtime leading up to that point. Honestly, the storytelling approach here makes this movie feel like 2 episodes of a TV series that has been ongoing for some time, but we only have one movie right before this film that really relates directly to it, and I don't really feel like I have a good enough understanding of these characters for some of the scenes to land with as much weight as I think they were intended to. Also, just like its predecessor, this movie ends with a coda, and I don't feel that this one is entirely necessary. I don't have any problem with it thematically, but I think it would have been more powerful if it was incorporated into the next entry into the series. I get why they put it here. I think it's going to help get more butts and seats and generate more excitement for the final movie in this trilogy, but it just feels very tacked on to me. And also that coda in 28 Years Later, which many people, including myself, found very jarring from a tonal perspective, isn't really justified here. I don't think that the Jimmy character and his gang behave in a way that is in keeping with the way that they were introduced in the previous movie. That just felt so out of left field, and after seeing where they went with those characters, it still does to me. Real quick before I give you my final thoughts, if you're enjoying this video and if you enjoy film commentary that prioritizes filmmaking and the film-going experience, please subscribe. I'm covering new releases every week. Overall, I thought that 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple was a really good horror film that felt largely free from studio constraints, but it does play out on the large scale enabled by studio backing. It's one of the best entries in this entire series to this point. And amidst some quibbles that I had with the storytelling, the dread and fear that I took away from this film after the credits rolled are a testament to how effective it was. And for all of those reasons, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple gets a B+. I am really excited for the next entry. I didn't find myself anticipating this film all that much, but at this point, I'm super excited to see where they go with it. If you have seen the movie, please let me know what you thought of it in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe, and I'll see you at the movies.